Hello, and welcome back to the Be More Connected Summit. I'm your host, Elise Preston, founder of Be More Connected, and today I'm here with the amazing Erin Claire Jones. Hi, Erin.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. And just a bit of background about Erin. Erin Claire Jones is a leadership coach specializing in human design. She helps leaders and teams step into their highest potential by offering them self-knowledge and tools to perform at the top of their personal and professional games. She has consulted for startups all over the world and built companies supporting executives, partnerships, and small teams to operate harmoniously and effectively, and conducted research on leadership challenges at over 90 early stage companies. And Erin, I'm super excited to connect with you today because human design has played such a powerful role in my own personal development. And it's one of the tools that I share with my clients and with my community.
Amazing.
And so I love to start off by asking the guests to share a bit about your own personal journey of healing and what's gotten you to where you are today.
So I think that for me, I didn't really have like a point in my life where I was just like everything shifted. I think that like I've been really interested in just like learning more about myself and figuring out how to operate in a way that just felt the best and most aligned since I was very young. And so I think in terms of how I made my way to human design, like I don't think it was really a thing that I could have predicted or anticipated. You know, it's like somebody asked me this morning, they're like, how did you get in the human design field? I was like, I don't really know if it's a field yet, but like, but basically, you know, I came from the world of startups. I was always very interested in business. And so, you know, worked at a lot of different companies and a lot of different functions, but I think I just was consistently a little bit frustrated isn't even the right word. I was just like a little bit confused because I was like, these companies have amazing ideas. Like the people are great, but like no one knows how to work together. No one knows how to function. And like, I always played a role where people would just like come and vent to me. And I was just like, it felt frustrating, you know, and I think that and dysfunctional. And I think on the side, I was always exploring lots of different modalities. You know, I've been certified in, you know, Kundalini and yoga and Reiki and all meditation, all the things. And I think that when I discovered human design, it just felt like a bridge. It felt like, so for those unfamiliar, it's a system that's based on your exact time, date, and place of birth. And even though it can feel esoteric, the information itself is so grounded and so tactical. And so I think what drew me to human design is I was just like, this is just so actionable in a way that people need, not only on an individual level, but also really in supporting companies, you know, helping teams like engineer or sort of teams operate in a more effective way by just really understanding each other. So I think that, and it was so serendipitous. I live in New York, and a guy basically like sat next to me at a party and looked at my design and then like invited me to build a business with him. And I was like, what in the world is going on? But like,
Wow.
it was really my first exposure. And I think that like, it just resonated on such a deep level. And I just got it so immediately. And it's really just been such a wild journey ever since, because when I first started sharing, people were like, what are you talking about? This feels so crazy. And it really wasn't until the last 3 years that like, it felt like people were ready for it in a really new way.
Absolutely. And as someone who's also a 6'2" emotional projector, I feel like
Amazing.
I had a very similar
Yeah.
experience in so many of the nonprofit organizations and businesses that I worked
Yeah.
within, being able to have this deep understanding of how people can have so much potential to work together so much more harmoniously, but not being able to see the ways that that is
Totally.
possible.
hmm
And oh, I'm not sure if you had something to
No,
add.
it just so much of what's cool about human design is that it kind of reveals all those energetics. It's like all the
Right.
stuff that we haven't really had access to. It's kind of like just like for me, it was like the missing piece. I was like, oh, this makes so much sense because like we're triggering each other and don't know why. Like some people are like too much emotionally, like just like for others, like, you know, you and I are going to project our emotions out into the world. And so like, it's really useful for us to be aware of those things. So I think it just like, it really did kind of offer the like missing piece of just like, once we have this information, we can be so much more conscious around kind of building a team and a collective that's going to work together better.
Yes, and having that consciousness is super powerful.
Yeah.
But I'd love to take a little bit of a step back for folks who may not be familiar with human design at all, to just provide a little bit of grounding around the foundation of human design and how it can support people.
hmm So the idea is that human design gives us our energetic DNA. And so what I mean by that is how we're meant to make decisions, communicate, work within teams, cultivate relationships, literally all the things, you know? And I think that there are about 2 billion different configurations. So even though you and I are both 6'2" emotional projectors, and there's obviously a lot of similarity, our designs can still look entirely different. And
Right.
so I think that, you know, the more traditional name of human design is like the science of differentiation, because it just reminds us that we are all configured in a very unique way. And human design gives us both the self-knowledge and the tools, like my bio says, to kind of just like not only understand ourselves, but actually just like step into it all. And so that's high level. You know, it can feel a little bit vague until you understand your own, but highest level, there are 5 different types, and then it gets a lot more specific from there.
Right. And could you share a little bit of an overview of those 5 energy types?
Yeah. So there are manifesting generators, projectors, reflectors, and manifestors. So manifesting generators and generators make up the majority of the population, because these are the people that really have the energy and the life force to like get things done, make things happen. Like they're really meant to wake up in the morning with like a full tank of energy to use their energy in super satisfying ways throughout the day, and then kind of like crash and wake up recharged. And when they're really committing their energy to things that they enjoy, they're basically creating and lifting up the energy of everyone around them. So it's so beneficial to basically the world that they take like inventory of like, what's lighting me up the most, what's the most energizing, and how can I funnel more energy into that, and pulling their energy out of the things they don't enjoy. The difference between the two is that manifesting generators often thrive when they have their energy in a lot of things at once. They're really not meant to do just one thing. They're super multi-passionate by nature. These are my clients that are like, I'm a lawyer, I'm a mom, I own a dance studio, I'm a podcast. I was like, their magic isn't doing all the things. And so often they've been made to feel scattered or like they're doing too much, but like they actually need that level of stimulation to stay excited and successful. And then generators, it's more like, I'm going to master this one thing, and then it's time, I'll move on. And for both of those types, the strategy for them is all about allowing life to come to them. It's magnetism. The more they do what they love, the more attractive they become. And their work is to kind of just pay attention to what's showing up.
Great.
And then we have projectors. You and I are both projectors. Projectors are really the ones that are here to be the leaders, the guides, the advisors, the teachers, the question askers. They're really not here to do all the doing. And so much of being a projector, even though like you and I are both going to be energy projectors, it basically meaning we have some energy of our own, of course, but it does operate in ebbs and flows. We're not really designed to work consistently or with like a tremendous amount of stamina every day. Our gift is not in the doing.
Right.
And so much of the work of a projector is understanding that your worth is really in the way that you see the world and your perspective. These people often make amazing managers or CEOs because they're really here to guide other people's energy. Coaches, therapists, psychologists, like group facilitators, again, guiding and supporting others. They often love modalities, love systems. Like I'm definitely not the only projector that is like, I'm going to do all the certifications, anything that helps me understand people more.
I can relate.
You know, and then our strategy as projectors is basically waiting for recognition and invitation before engaging. And the idea is that because we bring such a unique perspective and energy to the table, it's so important that that's really recognized and invited in. You know, I think when I first discovered that as an entrepreneur, there was a little bit of a fear of like, how am I going to build a business waiting for an invitation? And like, I've learned that so much of your job as a projector is about making yourself visible and available to be found. You know what I mean? Just like letting people know that you exist. Like this summit's a great way. It's like letting people know you exist so you can kind of attract the right people in through that.
Perfect.
How does that land for you? And I mean, it sounds like you've been exploring it for a while, but.
Right. I remember when I was first introduced to the concept of human design, and it was actually through a podcast a couple of years ago. And I felt so seen when I read through the first description of a projector, because I think some of the ways that I had some limiting beliefs about myself were really grounded and rooted in this concept of needing to be on all the time and needing to be productive, and really having so much that I wanted to be able to share in terms of understanding systems and processes and being able to see into other people and see into systems that came really naturally to me. But I wasn't fully owning that and acknowledging that as a part of the special kind of like gifts and qualities that were mine. It was just like, oh, that's, you know, something everyone can do, right? So I think like the biggest pieces for me that have been so supportive just from the energy type alone is that it's so permission giving, that it is so affirming in terms of really reflecting back to us who we've always been, so that we can step in to that fully and live in the world in that way.
100%.
Which is so powerful.
Yeah, and I think what I often tell people is that it's like not about telling people stuff they don't know. It's like all the stuff that they do know and haven't allowed themselves to step into. So to have a stranger reflect it all back, they're like, oh my God, thank God. Like I really get to be me. And so like, I think we often just need don't need, but that reflection is really useful. And I think human design gives us a language, which is really useful because it's like, oh, these are all these dynamics that I've felt throughout my entire life. And now I have a framework to just like understand and express them in a way that like really makes sense.
Right. And having that languaging is so powerful because sometimes we can feel and sense and know things, but till we can really speak to it
Yeah,
and share it with others and have them like reflect back and affirm certain things
totally.
about us, it's sometimes hard to fully embody it or embrace it.
Yeah,
And so
100%.
it's just such a supportive tool.
So such a supportive tool. And so I think that we have manifestors. So manifestors are the ones that are here to initiate and get things started, often the ones that are here to make the first move, get the ball rolling, not often here to do all the doing themselves, but like just to get things started, and so much of the work is kind of like allowing themselves to maybe initiate, but not always to do all the building.
Mm.
Freedom and autonomy and control are kind of everything for them. So it's going to be really challenging for them to work or be in an environment where they're being controlled or told what to do in any way. Like they're really here to do things on their own terms, in their own way. They're very naturally innovative. And their strategy is all about initiating. So they're here to make the first move, but also about informing. So once they've made a decision, they want to do something, it's reflecting on all the people that decision is going to impact and making sure they let them know. And then we have reflectors. And reflectors are 1%, much more rare. And these are people that are incredibly sensitive to their physical environment. So one of the best things they can do is choose to be in spaces that feel good to them because they're always going to magnify the space they're in.
Mm.
So they're working with a team they love and is happy and healthy, they're going to feel great. And if they're like surrounded by a community that feels really toxic and unwell, they're going to magnify that too. And so just making sure they're in a home, a space, a city that feels really good. Their identity is always shifting. Their really gift is in their fluidity. So they're going to have periods over the course of a month where they feel like a generator, where they feel like a manifesting generator, a projector, a manifestor. And so the work is to kind of really honor that fluidity and not try to be just one thing.
Mm.
And they also, in business, we call these people the evaluators just because they've got such a unique kind of objective perspective, and so it's so key for them to be in communities and environments where that perspective is really invited in to share. But they definitely are very unique. And so my encouragement, I did a session with a reflector this morning, and it's just like really knowing that like they just operate by a different set of rules than everyone else.
Awesome. And thank you so much for providing that
Yeah.
overview. And then I also would like to get your take on how human design can be supportive to us during this time of so much change and uncertainty.
It's quarantine times, especially.
Yeah.
I think that, what's so magical about human design and what drew me to human design is that I think for so long we've been looking for authority outside of ourselves, in terms of like teachers and guides and gurus. And obviously those people play a role. Like I have so many amazing teachers, but I think what
Mm.
human design reminds us of is that like we are each meant to have our own authority, like our own way of kind of just like connecting to what's true for us and that we can rely on every single time. And so I think when we're in this very precarious time where institutions are kind of just crumbling, and like the things we knew to be true are kind of not totally true right now. Like I think that it's actually a more important time than ever to like reconnect to exactly who we are and what we're here to do, and to make decisions in a way that's really aligned and courageous and kind of take the power out of like, I'm going to hand it off to other people and see what they think. It's like, I just got to reconnect to me and like, I'm going to operate in a way that feels aligned. So I think that like just kind of really reconnecting people to themselves is just like the most important thing that human design can do right now. And it just feels like an especially important time because I think when there is so much uncertainty and there is so much unknown, I think what like makes us feel better, at least makes me feel better, is feeling like I'm grounded in myself, and I think also what human design has really taught me is that like we're not really designed to make decisions for like where it's going to be in 5 years. It's not like I'm going to do this because I want to like create my plan for 5 years or 10 years or whatever. It's more like I'm going to make one aligned decision at a time, and I am going to trust that that is going to take me all the way there, And so
Right.
I think that even though the future might feel really uncertain, it's like, what is the aligned thing I can do today? And like, let that be enough.
Yes, I love that. One aligned decision at a time.
All the
And
time. Yeah.
something that I also found to be, or find to be super supportive and affirming about the system of human design is that it really encourages us to not focus on our decision making only being in the mind,
Oh my God. Yeah.
to ground into the body, and that we all have a unique way that we are receiving our intuition,
Yeah.
and to give us some tools and some tips for how to actually be able to tune into that. And so I would love if you could speak a little bit about how human design can actually help us make those aligned
Yeah.
decisions along the way.
Yeah. So, I'm sure we can put a link somewhere, but if you want to look up your design, you can go to erinclairejones.com/lookup or other sites as well. And this
Yeah.
is going to be the piece that's called inner authority. And so we talked about the type, we talked about the strategy. Inner authority is basically how we're meant to make decisions. And exactly like you said, none of us are meant to make decisions by creating like a pro-con list. It's like, okay, I should do this because of this, or I shouldn't do this because of this. It's more like
Yep.
connecting to kind of the innate knowing within each of us, and it shows up a little bit differently for each of us. So there are some people that are emotional. So you and I are emotional. This is true for any possible for any type of reflectors. And the idea is that even if we have an intuition or an instinct in the moment, for us, clarity comes over time, not in the moment. And so
Right.
for you and me, like we're not really designed to make decisions in the moment on an emotional high or an emotional low, but really designed to give ourselves time to feel into designed to give ourselves time before we like really commit to something. Because the idea is that when we're on an emotional high, we might commit to way too many things. When we're on a low, we might commit to too little, you know? And so it really is by just like giving us a beat before we commit, just like allows us to enter into things from like a much more clear, calm, and just like stable is not the right word, but just like a more, just like a knowing. There's like a deep knowing it's the correct thing rather than I'm just like vacillating and on an emotional high. So I think patience is key. Do you feel like you take your time when you make decisions?
I feel like the emotional authority part of my design is one of the pieces that's taken me the longest to
Yeah.
actually be able to attune to. But now I feel like I actually do have a sense of my emotional wave. And when I
Mm,
have landed on the other side and can make a
yeah.
really a really aligned decision and know that it's right for me. And it is usually right every time. Like I've tested it and been like, let me not do this
Yeah.
versus let me follow this. And it's never led me wrong, like led
I
me
know.
astray.
And that's the magic. And I love that share because I think that like human design is an experiment. You know what I mean? It's not like I just tell people stuff and they're like, okay, I'm in. It's like, I've got to play with it. Like I'm always playing with what the emotional wave is, like the invitation, all that stuff, you know? So I think
Right.
the emotional piece, like just again, knowing that you're not designed to make decisions on the high or the low. So like giving yourself space to kind of feel into when you're in a different place on the emotional wave. And if you're still excited, you know,
Right.
and with as emotional people, we're not looking for like 100% just like, I am certain. It's just like, you know what? I consistently feel good about this. On the
Right.
high, on the low, it just continues to feel right. And so like I
Feels
know that
right.
it's okay for me to move forward with.
Hmm.
There's some people that are sacral. Sacral basically means it's all about your gut. You know, there's so much talk out there of like follow your gut, listen to your gut. And the thing is like not all of us have a gut response. You and I don't, you know.
Right.
And like I don't even know what it feels like, you know. I like have intuitions about things, but gut is like a visceral feeling in your belly. It's like an expansion or contraction, like a excited buzz or an uncomfortable knot. And these people are basically meant to trust their gut response in the moment, even if they have no idea where it's going to take them. And if they're not getting a full body gut response, it either just means it's not the right thing or it's not the right time yet. And remembering that it's not a thing that they can rationalize. And so they find themselves like, yeah, I'm going to do this thing because of this. And because it's just like, it's not the gut speaking. The gut is like, it feels right. It doesn't, don't know why. There
Right.
are people that are splenic. Splenic is all around your intuition. Intuition is different than the gut response. Intuition is just like a quiet knowing. It's just like kind of a whisper that you hear, like tingles that you feel, just like resonance with something. Very spontaneous, kind of the opposite of us in some ways. Like we're meant to take our time. These people are meant to be like super impulsive,
Instant. Yeah.
spontaneous. Yeah. They get the knowing. It's like, go for it. It might change. You know what I mean? But like it's going to disappear as quickly as it comes. And your work is to hear it and then act on it.
Right.
Some people are ego decision makers, which means that it's all about whether or not their heart or willpower is really in it. So always asking themselves, like, do I really have the willpower to make this decision? And also like knowing they need to make decisions that truly take care of them. Some people are self-projected, meaning they have to talk things out and listen to what they say. So the best thing that they can do is surround themselves with people that they trust and just let themselves talk. The truth they like, their truth becomes clear when they give it a voice. There's some people that are mental projectors, or environment basically means yes, you need to talk things out, but also you need to be in environments that feel good when you do it. And it's going to be in a few different environments before you commit. And lastly, we have reflectors, which they have a very unique one, which always kind of blows my mind. But every reflector I talk to seems to really get it. And the idea is that like they're really designed to give themselves a full 28 to 30 days before they make a big decision. And obviously that's not always possible, but the key is that they kind of go through this cycle every month. And by giving themselves time to kind of sample everything and like all these different ways of being before they make a decision, they kind of have a very clear knowing. But because they are so sensitive, they want to like not be too spontaneous, and at the very least like be in environments where they're not being hurried or pressured, and they can kind of move at their own timing or at their own pace.
Yes. And I think that this piece around inner authority is something, at least from people that I've connected with and done readings with, that has been the the element that really allows things to start shifting and changing around you.
Totally.
I mean, knowing your energy type is so powerful. Knowing your strategy is so important. But there's an element about the inner authority, which, because it is so centered around decision making, once you're able to live more in alignment and in
Mm-hmm.
flow with that,
Yeah.
you are able to experience so many more synchronicities and connections, and you're not bumping up against so much resistance.
Yeah, and I think that like there's so much to human design. There's just like so many layers to the information, but I think the most important pieces are like the type, the strategy, and the authority.
Mm,
And the authority is, like you said, it's just so actionable because like we're making decisions every day. And
right.
so like, especially when I go into companies, I'm just like, honestly, this is just a tool to make decisions in a way that feels more aligned for you. There are a billion other things we could talk about, but like
Yeah.
often like people just need that permission to trust the thing, you know, and it's like trusting the gut, trusting the intuition, using their voice, sleeping on things, like such
Right.
basic stuff that I think can make such a, yeah, just such a huge difference, both in knowing ourselves, but also knowing our partners and our kids and our colleagues and all the people we surround ourselves by.
Yes. And I think that's also such a fun part of diving into human design, is being able to share it with family and friends and loved ones, and exploring how that allows the connections to be so much more fruitful, and being able to connect in ways that maybe you hadn't been able to before. And
Exactly.
I'd love to know a little bit more about your process of diving into human design, and how you started to see shifts and changes in your own life and your own work through really, really aligning with your design.
Yeah, I mean, I think one, it's very much like an ongoing process. Always, there are so many like deeper layers to human design, so I'm always really learning more. I think that like just the basic projector piece, like I think that like, and I've got a lot of my centers defined as a projector. I've got 7 centers defined, so like I do carry a lot of
Oh, wow.
energy as a projector. But I think that I really had like found worth in being a super generator, you know. And so I think that like really stepping back and be like, and, you know, my first business, like when I discovered human design, was a human design business. So like I was
Yeah.
kind of like, and my partner was a for my no, not my present business partner, my former one was a manifesting generator. And like it was so interesting because I'd be like, I want to make a decision now. I'm ready to do this. And he's like, sleep on the thing, you know? And so like it
That's
was just
awesome.
so he was really calling me out on stuff very early on. But I think that
Mm,
like learning how to, and I still like work a lot. Mostly I feel like so energized to do it though. I like love what I do so much,
that's
but I
great.
think that it's really required me to like honor the ebbs and flows of my energy as much as possible. And
Mm,
like when I try to push through and I'm exhausted, it's just like not even possible. And knowing that like my partner's a generator and he's got this like amazing creative energy to like build and create. And I think I formerly would have made myself wrong for not being able to keep up,
mm,
but being able to kind of own that has been super useful. I think also just a strategy of like invitation and recognition has totally dictated the way that I do business and relate to people. I
mm.
think in the past, like I've been like, I've got to initiate and make the things happen, you know, and now I'm like, if the people want me, they're going to invite me in. And like my job is to make myself as visible as possible, you know? And I think even the first iteration of my human design business, like I was really scared of being seen. And part of it was because I hadn't totally recognized myself and I think wasn't totally ready for it. But then like when I launched my own practice, I kind of made it my job to be seen, and like not in a way that felt very comfortable, but I was like, I'm going to just start sharing, you know, and all my first clients were like, my friends, you know what I mean? Like the people that I
Yeah,
was sharing workspace with, because I was just like talking about what I was so excited about. And they were like, we want to know more. And it
totally.
just kept growing and growing and growing. So I think that it really like helped me see the potential of the invitation piece and not see it as a thing that could like hamper my growth, but would actually just like expedite it and accelerate it, you know, in
Yeah.
such a beautiful way. And also know that it feels so much better to work with people when they're actually really ready for you. You know, as
Mm,
projectors, our energy can be a little bit penetrating and intense. And if people aren't ready for you, it's not going to work out
it
so
doesn't
well.
land. Yeah.
And so, and I think with the emotional piece, like, um, again, yeah, it's really been about just like my partner's sacral, so he makes decisions much more quickly. So
Mm,
I think I feel such an impulse to make decisions quickly, and like it's just been such a practice, even with small things. You know, it's like really important for the big decisions, but with small things like getting an email or whatever, and just be like, you know what, like I'm just gonna take a moment, or like, you know what, I'm excited in the moment, but we'll see if I'm still excited tomorrow. Has made just like such a difference in entering things from the right place. You
mm.
know, and I have like a very, you know, we're in the quarantine time right now. I'm a 6-2 profile like you, so it's like the hermit piece is so natural. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm like pretty
Yeah,
okay being at home and being in my own space.
me too.
And I think with the two, you know, we all have different profiles in human design, and the specific characteristic that we both share is
Mhm.
all around Like really being like, we're meant to do the things that feel really natural and the things that come
Mhm.
really easily to us. And I think that I often like didn't assign worth to those things. You know, I'd be like, oh, I've got to like do the things that really feel really hard. And like, and it's more like just like kind of trusting that like the things that I'm good at are kind of unteachable and I've got to just like step into it and own that, you
Yeah.
know? So, I mean, there's so many layers. We also all have areas in our design where we're the most kind of like open and sensitive to taking in other people's energy. So like my biggest lessons are around doing too much. So like,
Mm.
and pushing past my kind of boundaries and also in trying to prove myself and like overcommitting to things and overcompensating because of it. So now I have a filter in every decision or contribution I make of like, am I trying to prove myself? Because like I know that I'm not here to prove a thing. And so
Mm.
just like very simple things that I think allow me to like step back every day and reevaluate and kind of make sure I'm staying on track.
Yes. I think that's so powerful. And that it gives us those really clearly defined and distinctive elements and aspects about ourselves to be able to fine tune how we can show up in a way
Totally.
that does feel so much more authentic and aligned for us. And
Mm-hmm.
you were mentioning a little bit about honoring the things that we're good at. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's like such a beautiful, beautiful element and aspect of the whole philosophy of human design that, as souls, before we even incarnated here on the planet, we were already gifted with all of the skills and strengths and gifts and qualities that we needed to attain and achieve our highest potential in this lifetime. And that's the work of our life, is to be able to connect back into those things and own
Mm-hmm.
and honor them so we can share them with the world. And
Totally.
that is our greatest energetic contribution, is really just showing up as our full selves.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
It's so, so cool to be able to have a tool that can support us in that work.
Totally. And just like, and you know, at some point, like, I don't think we'll need human design. You know what I mean? Like, because we'll just be living it. But I think right
Yeah.
now, it just like, it supports, you know, at any age. Like, obviously for us, it's like supporting us and getting in alignment in our businesses and our lives. Like, when you start parenting kids based on it, you're basically giving them permission to be who they are from day one. When you
Mm,
use it in teams, you're just kind of like engineering and creating space for like fully functional, productive, successful, harmonious teams. So like
right.
there's just so many, it's just like kind of this like hidden layer of knowledge that we can just really use to like optimize our life in all the ways. But again, like it's not, like I said before, it's not unfamiliar stuff. It's not stuff that we don't know. It's stuff that we do know and just like need a little nudge to step into it more.
Yes, the things we've always known about ourselves.
Totally.
And I love to ask all of our guests what being more connected means to you.
You know, I think that like this time of quarantine and being in our own space, I feel like there's actually like greater connection than ever before. And like, so I think being connected, you know, two part. One is like being deeply connected to myself, you know, just like really like trusting myself and honoring myself and listening to myself and creating space to just like, you know, I think when I just like get up in that habit of just like doing, I actually don't create any space to just like listen, you
Mm,
know? And so I think the connection is just kind of like this real, just like exploration and curiosity about who I am. And then I think also like being connected is just like deeply connecting with the people that I love and
mm,
my clients and the people around me. You know, I think that when I say we're more connected than ever before, I think that because people are deprived of physical connection, there's probably like more FaceTimes and group chats and checking in with each other.
yeah.
And so I just think that yeah, I think that like there have been times where I've been so in my hermitdom that I like haven't really been available. But I think that like I realize that like having just like such deep connections with the people I love is just like so crucial to my own well-being, you know? So I think, yeah, it's just like deep knowing of ourselves and a deep vulnerability with others.
Beautiful. And I know that you have a free gift for our audience. Could you share a little bit about that gift and also how people can stay connected with you?
Yeah. So I don't have a free gift, but I have a discount.
Oh, yeah.
I need to make a free special thing, but I haven't before. So um, I'm Erin Claire Jones everywhere. So my website's erinclairejones.com. My Instagram is Erin Claire Jones. I share a lot there. So one of my favorite and I think the best place to start is a favorite offerings is something called the Blueprint, which is a 30-page PDF on your unique design. And it basically gives you all the most important pieces of your design and the tools to kind of really step into it in your own life, you know, and it covers the most important pieces but also makes it really actionable and simple. So the discount code is connected, so if you want to start there, that's a great place. And then I also do sessions, individual, team, partnership, all the things.
Beautiful. Well, Erin, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so appreciative for you sharing your energy to participate in this summit. And I'm super excited for folks to be able to stay connected with you and to be able to access their blueprint.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yes. And to our audience, I hope to see you all tomorrow with your next set of interviews direct to your inbox. Bye.